This is a repair video on a 2004 Lincoln LS, and this guy has suspension issues. I have put a couple different shocks in here, some nice Bilstein shocks in there, and this thing is tight as anything. The reason why is that these lower control arm bushings are shot, and the bushings in there they're like seized. Alright, so to get in here, what do we need to remove? We need to remove the control or the sway bar link. Mine are 14 mil. I've replaced those already. Yours might not be. We need to remove the lower bolt securing the shock absorber to the lower control arm, and then we need to get in here. This bolt right here, which secures the right here, securing the lower control arm. Alright, to remove this bolt, we have to take the caliper off. The caliper is secured by two 15 millimeter bolts, and then make sure you hang your caliper up off something. Don't let it drape down when you do that, and then we'll be able to get that fully out. First of that 15 millimeter bolt, I knocked the caliper loose with a soft face mallet, and I used these little plastic rubberized sort of metal ties to just hang it there in place. With the caliper out of the way, I can get that bolt. Alright, the upper control arm moves freely. You can see it moving there, but the lower control arm is seized in there bad. Like, I have to put a pipe in there to try to move it, and that has made the suspension like super bouncy. And of course I thought it was the shock. I don't think it ever was the shock. So what was happening was, every time I hit a bump, what's supposed to happen is the energy goes there, right, and gets absorbed into the shock absorber. And what was happening was the whole back end is pretty well seized as a unit, and it's just bouncing like a lever off of the front of the car. And so I thought at first, yeah, it's the shock. The shock needs to be replaced because it's doing nothing. It's just bouncing away. Not realizing no energy is even getting in there. This can't even compress because that lower control arm won't allow the wheel to go up. So I'll show you what I got for replacement parts. There's new bushings. I got 4 of these. I'm going to try to get that control arm out of there and press those bushings out and press these in. Alright folks, so here's the lower control arm out. To get that out, you need a 21 millimeter wrench for the nut, and 18 millimeters, so a little bit less common I've found, but that will get it out for you. So this bearing, or this bushing here, I guess this is just rubber on that one, and this one there, I guess these are the ones I'm going to replace. This outside one there and there. So we'll see what we can do about pressing those out. Alright, so finally I've got this bushing moving. I don't know if you're going to use a tool like mine, but I got the middle cup there. It just barely sits on the outside of that. I actually cut this away on the other side so that I've got a 1 inch socket that sits nicely on there. Once I've cut that rubber, does not feel like rubber anymore, it feels just like hard plastic, and that is pushing that through. So what I forgot to do, you should do this, measure. I don't think this sits perfectly equally side to side here. I think it protrudes a little more on one side than the other. So make sure before you start pressing it out, measure how much is there so that you can put the other one back in exactly. It's gonna have to match exactly. So that's what mine looks like after 13 years of hanging out in there. I only had this car about maybe a year now. Anyway, there's been a lot of work needed to get done on it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to push the other one out, and then I'm going to take the other side off because I'm going to measure that side before I push the new ones in. Alright, I'm going to measure this one. This is the one by this end here. It's 12 millimeters. Alright, this is the opposite side, so to focus, there we go. And so you got the rubber one there. It's 12 millimeters.